But now budget supermarket Aldi has entered the fray, promising to shake up the market just as much as it did in the grocery aisles.
If you've ever filled your cart at Aldi thinking you just scored the best grocery deal in town, you might want to think again. Because behind those low prices, minimal aisles, and exclusive brands, there's a hidden story most shoppers never hear. And it's not just about saving money. It's about what you're actually putting into your body, who's suffering behind the scenes, and how much control you've really given up without realizing it. Did you know that some Aldi food products contain additives banned in parts of Europe? Or that former employees have exposed unsafe conditions and misleading freshness tactics in their stores? You might walk in for milk and eggs, but walk out with items that carry a bigger cost than you bargained for. One bite at a time, you could be consuming chemicals, low-grade meat, or produce that was freshened up after being near expiration. And if you think that's the worst of it, keep watching, because what you're about to learn might completely change the way you look at Aldi's shelves forever. Aldi's meat section is one of its biggest selling points. Neatly packaged, clearly labeled, and shockingly cheap. You walk in thinking you're getting quality protein for half the price, but what's actually in those plastic-wrapped cuts might surprise you. According to multiple supplier audits and former insiders, some of Aldi's lowest-priced meats are imported frozen, thawed, repackaged, and relabeled as fresh. In fact, industry insiders have raised red flags about mechanically separated meat used in certain processed products, where leftover scraps, fat, and bone particles are pushed through a machine to form the meat blend found in Aldi's frozen burgers and budget sausages. Even worse, tests in recent years found antibiotic residues and growth hormones in imported beef sold at deep discounts. While Aldi insists their suppliers follow safety regulations, investigative journalists and watchdog groups have pointed out that some of these suppliers were also flagged by the USDA and FDA for past violations, including failing to meet safety standards and improper meat handling practices. A former supplier whistleblower even claimed that Aldi's cost-cutting pressure led to corner cutting in their own facility, stating, if you can stretch 1 pound of beef with filler and still hit your margin, that's what they expected. These fillers can include soy protein, textured vegetable byproducts, or even binding agents made from animal tissue emulsifiers. The truth is, when you see that pack of ground beef or those heavily discounted steaks, you're not just paying less. You might be getting a lot less meat than you think. And that's only the beginning. Because while you're focused on what brand of meat you're buying, Aldi's already pulled its next trick by convincing you that their off-brand labels are something exclusive and premium. Up next, why Aldi's private label brands might not be what you think they are, and how they quietly repackage low-quality goods under new names. When you walk into Aldi, you won't see familiar brand names like Heinz, Kellogg's, or Tide lining the shelves. Instead, you'll find brands like Millville, Boulder, and Simply Nature. Names that look wholesome, clean, and exclusive. Aldi tells you these are private labels, created just for their stores, and that's why you're getting top-tier quality for bottom-shelf prices. But here's the catch. Those exclusive brands aren't always what they seem. Many of Aldi's in-house labels are made by the same manufacturers who produce generic or budget versions for other low-cost retailers, just slapped with a different name and design. That granola bar from Millville, it might come from the exact same facility that makes dollar store brands, with a slightly different formula and a prettier box. And the pasta sauce you thought was some special Aldi recipe, it could be a rebranded reject batch from a factory that sells to 4 other chains. Here's the real trick. By removing brand competition, Aldi controls your choice. They're not offering you fewer options to make shopping easier. They're doing it so you never compare prices or quality across trusted names. You're forced into picking between 3 or 4 unknowns that all belong to the same parent. It creates the illusion of choice and value, while quietly cutting corners behind the scenes. And because these labels aren't held to the same public expectations as national brands, they can quietly use cheaper ingredients, different manufacturing standards, or inconsistent sourcing, all without you ever knowing. So the next time you pick up a box of cereal or a frozen dinner and assume you're getting something just as good for less, ask yourself, who really made this and what are they hiding? Because what's inside those boxes may not be the only thing you should be worried about. Up next, shocking food additives that Aldi is still using, even after other chains have started phasing them out. You'd think with all the organic-looking labels and the Simply Nature branding, Aldi would be one of the cleaner food options on the market. But dig a little deeper, and you'll find that some of the ingredients inside their products would make food regulators in other countries furious. We're talking about dyes, preservatives, and chemicals that have either been banned outright or, at the very least, slapped with serious warning labels in Europe and other parts of the world. Let's start with titanium dioxide, a whitening agent once used in paints. and still found in some Aldi bakery items and snack foods. The European Food Safety Authority declared it unsafe as a food additive in 2021, yet products containing it remain on U.S. shelves, unlabeled, unflagged, and totally legal. In Aldi snack bars and icing, it's still being used to create a bright, appealing color. But what's the cost? Studies have raised concerns that titanium dioxide may be linked to DNA damage and long-term health risks when consumed regularly. Then there are artificial dyes like Red 40, Yellow 5, and Blue 1, commonly found in Aldi cereals, juices, and candies marketed to children. These dyes have been banned or heavily restricted in parts of Europe, especially when used in kids' foods because of potential links to hyperactivity and behavioral issues. But in the US, they're fair game, so long as the packaging doesn't say too much about what's really inside. And let's not forget the preservatives. Look at the ingredient list of some of Aldi's processed meats, frozen pizzas, or ready meals, and you might see BHA and BHT chemicals used to prevent spoilage, but flagged by the National Toxicology Program as reasonably anticipated to be human carcinogens. Aldi likes to boast about its clean ingredients and eco-conscious branding, but the reality is, they're still stocking shelves with items other chains have already cleaned up or banned entirely. Why? Because it's cheaper. Because most shoppers don't read labels. And because they can. But while customers may be looking at the ingredient list, few are questioning what's happening behind the scenes in the produce section, where even fresh isn't always what it seems. Up next, what former employees revealed about Aldi's fruit and vegetable handling, and how those fresh avocados and apples may have been sitting around a lot longer than you think. You walk into Aldi and head straight for the produce section. Everything looks crisp, clean, and freshly delivered. Neatly stacked apples, vibrant peppers, and bags of pre-washed salad blends. But according to former Aldi employees, what you see is often an illusion, carefully maintained to hide how long those items have really been sitting around. Multiple staff members from Aldi locations across the country have shared the same dirty secret. A large portion of the produce arrives already aging, and some of it has been in cold storage for weeks. That picture-perfect avocado? It might have been shipped from another continent and ripened artificially in a warehouse. Those grapes, sprayed with a food-grade preservative to keep their shine, and that just-picked lettuce mix? It may be days or even a full week past its peak freshness by the time it hits the shelf. Aldi's internal policies, according to leaked training documents and employee testimonies, encourage daily remerchandising, meaning bruised fruit is rotated to the front, and wilting veggies are sometimes repackaged with fresher-looking ones to extend shelf life. In other words, if the cucumber is soft, just flip it. If the apple has a blemish, turn it over. Out of sight, out of mind. Even worse, Aldi's infamous clearance stickers. Employees say they're often told to mark down spoiled produce instead of pulling it completely, hoping someone will grab it because of the price. That means you could be buying discounted strawberries on their literal last day of edibility, if not past it. It's a tactic that saves waste and boosts profit, but leaves customers biting into fruits and vegetables that should have been composted days ago. But while some shoppers are worried about freshness, others should be asking a much bigger question. Who's behind those registers and shelves? And what are they going through to keep Aldi's prices low? Up next, the disturbing truth about how Aldi treats its workers and why the same people stocking your groceries might be hiding their pain behind a corporate smile. Aldi prides itself on efficiency, bare-bones staffing, streamlined operations, and fast checkouts. But behind that sleek system is a workforce that's often pushed to the limit. While customers walk the aisles looking for deals, the people making those deals possible are working under brutal, high-pressure conditions that most shoppers never see. Unlike other chains that divide responsibilities among cashiers, stockers, and managers, Aldi uses a lean labor model, meaning fewer employees are expected to do everything. A single worker might unload an entire delivery truck, stock shelves, clean spills, run a register, and close the store, all in one shift. Former employees describe the workload as relentless, with one saying, "It felt like I was being timed every time I moved." You either keep up or get replaced. The pressure to move fast isn't just mental, it's physical. Workers report chronic back pain, repetitive stress injuries, and even incidents of collapsing from exhaustion during double shifts. One viral Reddit post from a former employee described being told to skip bathroom breaks to meet performance targets. Others claim Aldi's tight staffing leads to unsafe situations, especially at night, like being forced to close the store alone without backup while handling cash. Despite the intensity, some locations still pay entry-level wages barely above minimum, with limited opportunities for advancement. And while Aldi's European arm boasts better protections and pay abroad, the U.S. operations have been accused of cutting corners wherever possible. All of this helps keep prices low, But at what cost? Because while customers are saving dollars, employees are sacrificing time, health, and dignity. And what's worse is that many shoppers have no idea what's going on behind that smiling cashier's face. But Aldi's control doesn't stop with its workers. Next, we expose how the layout of the store itself is engineered to guide your every move and make sure you spend more than you ever intended. At first glance, Aldi's layout seems simple: clean, minimal, even comforting. But that simplicity isn't accidental. It's a carefully crafted psychological experience designed to influence how you move, what you buy, and how much you spend. The moment you step inside, you're met with produce, not by chance, but by strategy. Bright, colorful fruits and vegetables are meant to signal freshness and health, priming your brain to feel good about shopping. That positive association, it lowers your guard, makes you more likely to make impulse buys, and Aldi knows it. Next, you pass by the infamous middle aisle, home to the weekly rotating Aldi finds. One week it's an air fryer, the next a yoga mat or a power drill. These completely unrelated, non-essential items are placed dead center in your path for one reason: disruption. They break your mental shopping list, force you to stop, and tempt you to buy something you didn't even come in for. It's a subtle form of what marketers call planned spontaneity. Then there's the limited selection strategy. Most grocery stores offer dozens of choices per product. Aldi doesn't. They give you one or two. Why? Because fewer choices mean less decision fatigue. Your brain feels less overwhelmed, so you move faster and spend more without realizing it. And don't overlook the warehouse-like shelving, minimal signage, and cardboard boxes on display. This stripped-down look is intentional. It signals low cost and practicality, which tricks your subconscious into thinking you're getting better deals, even when you're not. So while it may feel like Aldi is helping you save time and money, they're actually guiding you through a behavioral maze, nudging your choices, and maximizing your total cart spend every step of the way. But even if you manage to stick to your list, there's something else you should know, especially about the international imports you might think are higher quality. Because up next, we're exposing a myth that's fooled millions: Aldi's European reputation and how different it really is here in the US. Many Aldi shoppers in the US feel a certain comfort thinking they're buying products that reflect European standards. After all, Aldi is a German-founded chain with a reputation overseas for high-quality goods, strict food regulations, and consumer-first values. But here's the twist: Aldi US is not Aldi Europe, and assuming the two are equal could be one of the biggest mistakes a shopper can make. What most customers don't realize is that Aldi's American stores operate under a different set of rules and a different supply chain altogether. While German and European branches are subject to far stricter food safety laws, labeling transparency, and ingredient restrictions, Aldi US adapts to the looser American regulatory system, often sourcing from low-cost domestic or overseas factories that wouldn't pass muster abroad. Take chocolate, for example. Aldi Germany's private label chocolate uses real cocoa butter and strict sourcing requirements. But the US version of the same label? It may include cheaper vegetable oils, lower cocoa content, and artificial flavors to cut costs, all while wearing the same name on the wrapper. Even the much-hyped European cheeses sold in Aldi US stores have come under fire. While the labels suggest authentic imports, many of these products are produced by US factories or low-cost international providers using Americanized recipes. The packaging is designed to feel European, even if the product inside is anything but. This illusion works because shoppers trust the origin story. They believe the European roots mean higher integrity, better sourcing, and cleaner ingredients. But in reality, Aldi knows that most people won't read the fine print and won't question what's really behind the price tag. And here's the kicker: Aldi US doesn't even have to tell you when they downgrade or change suppliers. As long as the label meets FDA requirements, they can swap ingredients, shift sourcing, or cut quality without notice and without consequence. But while this illusion plays out on shelves, there's another deception going on just beneath the surface, one that touches the environment, the planet, and every shopper's conscience. Up next, Aldi's eco-friendly image might not be as green as you think, and the hidden environmental cost could be far greater than what's on your receipt. Aldi wants you to think you're making a difference. Reusable bags, green packaging, labels that shout sustainably sourced and carbon conscious. But when you peel back the marketing, the truth isn't quite so biodegradable. Because behind those earthy tones and buzzwords is a supply chain that's often anything but eco-friendly. Let's start with packaging. While Aldi promotes recyclable materials, Many of their store brand items still come wrapped in single-use plastics, non-recyclable film, or containers that end up in landfills. One investigative report found that over 60% of Aldi's in-house products were packaged in plastic combinations that most municipal systems can't even process. So sure, the packaging says recyclable, but try putting it in your bin and watch it get rejected. Then there's the transportation footprint. Many Aldi green items are shipped thousands of miles from low-cost factories in Southeast Asia or Eastern Europe. That organic quinoa you picked up, it might have traveled further than most Americans do in a year, leaving behind a thick trail of carbon emissions before it ever reached the shelf. And what about their supply ethics? While Aldi claims commitment to sustainability, they've faced criticism for sourcing from farms and suppliers with poor labor records, high water consumption, and unsustainable farming methods. In 2022, an environmental watchdog flagged several Aldi suppliers for failing to meet even the company's own green guidelines. It's a classic case of greenwashing. The store might look responsible, the messaging might feel ethical, but the deeper truth is this: you're being sold a feeling, not a fact. And that feeling lets companies like Aldi profit off of good intentions while continuing to do business in ways that hurt the planet behind the scenes. Now that we've pulled back the curtain, we want to hear from you, because chances are someone watching this has lived through an Aldi moment that others need to know about. If any of this has made you rethink what's really in your shopping cart, we want to hear about it. Have you ever bought something from Aldi that just didn't seem right? Maybe fruit that went bad the next day? Maybe meat that smelled off before the expiration date? Or maybe you've worked behind the scenes and saw something that shocked you. Drop your story in the comments. We're reading everyone. Your experience could help someone else avoid a bad purchase, or finally understand that low prices can sometimes come with a hidden cost. And if you've been surprised by any of the truths in this video, consider subscribing. We dig deep into the places most people shop every day, revealing what really goes on behind the marketing. This isn't about canceling a brand. It's about making smarter choices and holding companies accountable when they count on us staying silent. So what's the real price of shopping at Aldi? It's not just about a lower grocery bill. It's about what's behind the shelves. The aging produce dressed up as fresh, the processed meats with hidden fillers, the private labels designed to fool you into trusting what's not actually trustworthy. It's about the workers stretched to their limit, the illusion of eco-consciousness, and the carefully planned store design meant to control your behavior. Aldi has become one of the fastest growing grocery chains in the world, not because of what it gives you, but because of what it hides. Behind every discount is a decision, a corner cut, a regulation sidestepped, a trick played on the people who trust too easily. But that doesn't mean you have to be one of them. Stay aware, read labels, ask questions, and when something feels off, speak up, because silence is how these systems survive. The truth is, not every deal is worth the cost, and not every store with smiling cashiers and empty shelves is doing you a favor. Sometimes the simplest looking places are the ones that leave the most important things unsaid. Because in a place like Aldi, it's not just what you're buying, it's what you're not being told.